mic attached to my phone. And let me know how the sound quality is. I'm just going to be testing out all the various mics that I already own before I start going out and buying more stuff. If it starts crackling or being weird, let me know in the chat what is going on. So essentially, I'm just gonna kind of update y'all on what the last week has been like really quick before I tell you uh, the very interesting conversation I had yesterday with an industry friend. Okay? Where is everyone? First of all, how are you? Where are you? Good morning. Say hello to me in the chat. Let me know if you can hear me okay. How's the sound? Yes? No? Good morning. How's the sound, Yukiko? Good, good. Y'all let me know if the sound is not good. All right. So essentially, this last week has been crazy. It has been more about real life stuff than Operation Reentry stuff. And essentially, my husband has been feeling poorly all last week. And so on Thursday, I took him to the ER. And he had a small procedure done on Saturday. So we were at the hospital that whole time. And then he was discharged on Sunday. And if you don't know, if you're kind of new around here, my husband was in a really bad car accident 2 years ago. Long story short, one car was going really fast and one car was going really stupid, and they hit each other. And when they ricocheted off each other, one of the cars hit my husband, who was walking on the sidewalk, like at the time. So yeah, so he was in hospital for 3 months. He had outpatient rehab for another 7 months. Like, you know, he's been trying to recover and deal with his health ever since then. He had to relearn how to walk, all these things. And recovery is an up and down journey. He's been doing really good and everything, but, you know, sometimes complications come up. And that's just life. So we were in the hospital for 4 days, and he is doing much better now. Thank you to everyone who left me well wishes on the other channel or any of my social media. I really appreciate that very much. But yeah, he is doing much better. Every day he says he feels less and less pain, that he feels better. And we have a, stop honking, shut up. We have a follow-up doctor's appointment at 10 o'clock, so, or 10:30, like in an hour and a half, which is why I moved the live 1 hour today. And so, yeah, sometimes that's life. So that's that. I'm sure you did not come. Thank you very much, Sev. Yeah, it's just life, you know. Yeah, it is pretty serious. Yeah, he almost died. So, like at the original accident, they were not sure he was going to live. And then after a while, they're like, well, he might live, but he might be a vegetable. And then after a while, he's like, okay, he might wake up, but then he'll be paralyzed. And like, they weren't sure if he had amnesia for a while or if just like there was a lot of stuff. But he's walking on his own without any devices. He is back to work, but there continues to be some health complications, you know, involved. So that is that. And yeah, hospitals make me really cranky and annoyed. Just the constant beeping, the interruptions, just like the fighting incompetent people, waiting. You know, hospitals and airports are all about like hurry up and wait. And so, you know, the procedure was originally scheduled for Friday, but then they got pushed and they're like, well, because he's not as life threatening as other people, which, I mean, listen, in any sort of emergency room, surgery situation, if the doctors are not freaking out and rushing you into a room, it's like kind of good news, because it kind of means that like the doctors don't think you're going to die immediately. I always try to look at the positive of things. Okay. So yeah, so he had his procedure on Saturday. We are going to be going in for a midweek procedure this week, but they had to order the part. Like, why did it feel like why did it feel like we were ordering a part for a car or something? They're like, oh, we have to order this part before we do this next procedure, so we'll call you when the part comes in. Like, am I talking to a doctor or a mechanic? Anyways, all right. So we just had a bunch of new people jump on board. I'm just giving a little life update, and I'm testing a new mic. So let me know if the mic starts fitzing or acting all crazy. So we came home Sunday and we just crashed out. Like, we slept, ate dinner, slept some more. And then Monday I had a lunch date with an industry friend. And so we got to talking about Operation Reentry, and I pitched her my 2 ideas. And then like, some of it was like directly like, you know how you are when you're talking with girlfriends, like, or just your friends, you don't like talk in like a linear line, or you just kind of like bounce around and ask, and just like, you're like talking about the same kind of general topics, and then someone tells a story that reminded them of this other thing, and then we go back to the, you know, kind of like that, right? So, hello, Kush. And so we were talking about my business. Her background is in product development. That's her experience. So, long-time watcher, first-time commenter, sending you and your husband lots of love and prayers. Thank you very much. So her background is not in design, but in product development, pattern making mostly, and she's been doing it for a couple of decades now, I think. And so I told her my ideas, and we were talking about the industry. We were talking about the tariffs, which I'm not going to talk about politics with you. The tariffs are stupid. They're fucking stupid. And literally the executive order is riddled with typos. Like, what kind of administration sends out an executive order that applies to every business across the US riddled with typos? And there's a phrase in there that says inclusive of or exclusive of. So it's like, what does that mean? Like, it's so stupid. So the phrasing is dumb. It's very confusing, and it, like, how much you get charged kind of depends on what agent process your import paperwork. Like, it is, like, she kind of just went off for a while, and I was just listening, because I have not had any direct impact on the tariffs on my business, because I don't make physical product right now. And so, yeah, it's a nightmare. And one of the things that she said was, it wasn't like she was giving me advice. We were kind of joking around at this point, where she was like, I was like, you know what? Maybe I just wait to launch my business till after this administration. And she was like, the vibe was kind of like, that's not the worst idea I ever heard. She's like, girl, like, either way, like, whether I do the denim or whether I do the evening wear, you can do like a ton of background research, product development, build your blocks, build your main shapes, all that stuff, and then launch later. And I'm kind of really into that idea, because, and I have said this often, that you don't have once you're up and running, and people who run small businesses in any industry, they will tell you, they'll back me up on this. You never have as much time to prepare, to design, to research, to develop things as much as you do before your launch. So you want to do a lot of this background research and development before you launch so that you're doing much less of it while you're running your business. If you watch my last video where I was talking about wholesale, this is not about wholesale. This is about any fashion business. You are basically always juggling 3 collections at a time. You always have a collection in development. So you're sampling, you're preparing for a show, or you're showing, but that's like all development. You're doing the patterns, you're doing the grading. You know, you're making the, grading is production, but you're making the patterns, you're doing the sampling, you're doing your sourcing, all that stuff. And then you have the just previous collection in production. And so, listen, I have been accused many times of crushing the dreams of fashion hopefuls everywhere with my negative attitude. And listen, if I can see the silver lining in my husband's surgery being pushed back a day, you're never going to meet a more positive, on a realistic level person as me. You're just not. I just want to prepare y'all for the reality of the industry so that, you know, I always feel like I'm fighting those people who are like, how to start a fashion business in 4 easy steps. Girl, there ain't no 4 fucking easy steps, all right? There's 4 steps a day, okay? There's 4 steps an hour, okay? Do not start with me on those, you know, like you could start a business in 6 months by following my, you know, download my free ebook by selling me your email address, and I will show you how in 6 months you can have your business off the ground. I will quit all of this shit and retire before you hear that from me, okay? There are a lot of things that you can learn how to do in 6 months, okay? There are lots of things you can learn to do in 6 months, but to launch an entire business from zero, especially because those kinds of courses and ebooks, they target people with no industry experience. So to go from zero all the way to launching your business in 6 months with your handy dandy ebook, go jump into a dumpster fire, you freaking liar, okay? Okay, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Yeah, it kind of is. I want to prepare you for the worst, hope for the best, cross your fingers, do your due diligence, do the work, but like this could happen. In my wholesale video, everyone's like, I'm not doing wholesale. I've given up on my design dreams entirely. And I'm like, well, I mean, maybe you rethink things. Maybe you don't have to give up entirely, you know? You are not crushing anybody's dream. You are crushing a fantasy that ends in bankruptcy. Thank you, Lori. On my wholesale video, somebody commented that a friend of theirs, their business had to shut down because people were paying net 120. And I was like, ugh. Like people were screaming about net 90 in the comments, which that's fine because net 90 is nuts, okay? Net 90 is already nuts. And then this woman was like, yeah, my friend just didn't have enough money to get her through net 120. And you know what? Fair. We really shouldn't have to have so much cash to get anyone through 120 because the buyers, the stores, should be paying people on time and not net 120, or even demanding or even suggesting net 120. Okay, just that's just absurd, period. Okay. Where was I going? I had a point. Let's rewind back. What was I talking about? But yeah, just so if I spend the next 3 years or so in development, I wouldn't mind it, because thank you for the rent as promised, as well as the silk link. You asked, and I delivered. I had a lot of things to say about sale. When I posted the video link on LinkedIn, my caption was, "What's that sound?" That's a sound of me being blacklisted by every wholesale buyer in the entire fashion industry. Because if they were to watch, who would want to work with me? Probably no one. And I'm not that upset about it. Like, I will say, yeah, it's an abusive system and it's a broken system. And I mean, I'm not starting a brand to do the same old shit as everybody else to perpetuate kind of the abusive system that is in place, to perpetuate like old fashioned ethos, like the old guard. Like, I don't want to uphold any of that, any of what exists now. I want to sift through the ashes of the fashion industry and just pick out the things that I think are the most important. I think a return to craftsmanship over marketing needs to happen. Somebody asked me in the comments on the main channel, somebody asked me for a video on explaining what is the point of haute couture anymore. And they weren't copying an attitude. They just really wanted to know like kind of the significance that couture has on the industry today. And it's an interesting one to think about. I've actually been thinking about that quite a bit the past few weeks since that person had left that comment, because, couture used to be just the way rich people bought clothes, right? It's just you bought couture or you made your own stuff, and you generally kind of copied what the royals and nobility were doing. The merchant class really had more money than the nobles a lot of the time, and they had the nice clothes, and there was a lot of that. But back then, people did not buy 30 dresses a year from Shein. They bought a few, or they made a few and made them to last. And that's why we have vintage pieces from 100 years ago that people can still wear. And with the advent of ready-to-wear, there was the Great Wars, the World War I, World War II, where Americans could not access what was going on in France. Many French houses shut down, and so America had to make their own way. And then the advent of Hollywood becoming such a huge force in fashion, where people wanted to dress like their favorite stars, like Joan Crawford and Betty Davis, and they wanted to wear copies of those films and stuff. And so all these other forces coming into fashion, and it wasn't just Parisian couture houses having like the only stranglehold on what is fashionable. And then more and more of these department stores that were doing mass market, like Sears, were offering ready-to-made clothes to women in, not filthy rich income brackets, so that they didn't have to make their own clothes. And so for a while, as the couture clientele was dwindling, you see couture being used more and more as a marketing machine, and kind of like PR marketing and advertising for their ready-to-wear brands, their accessories lines, things like that. And as we know, accessories and cosmetics, beauty, perfume, skincare, all of that They are the big revenue generators, but they would not be revenue generators if people did not associate the big logo on the bag with a particular aesthetic from the couture line and the ready-to-wear lines on a lesser level. And so couture just became more and more about marketing and about gimmicks. And gimmicks can be interesting if they capture your attention to something that involves the craft and it makes you pay attention to the clothes. Gimmicks are freaking stupid in my opinion if it's just like a flash bang boom and then people kind of forget it. They talk about it, it's like the buzz of the season, and then people are like, what was that brand? What do they make? Is their stuff good? But if it's a gimmick that's like associated with how, you know, how it's all done, I think it can work out well. And so what even is the point of couture now if we're not seeing the highest echelon? I mean, it's haute couture literally means high sewing. So if we're not seeing the utmost level of craftsmanship because we're just bombarded by gimmicks, then what is the point of couture? Okay, that's the video. I'm kidding. I want to think about it a little bit more and come up with something that's a little bit more educational, but yeah. Sorry, I just got a whole bunch of comments. I'm filing bankruptcy. I have to sell my wife. Should I do it? Yeah, release her from you. Agree with taking time before launching, especially when self-financing. I have my own business and product development took 5 years from the latest product to streamline manufacturability. See, that's smart, okay? Don't launch before you're not ready. And like, either way I go, with the denim or with the evening wear, I want to have, like, I think I already mentioned that with the denim, I want to create like 4 to 7 body blocks and then create every season like a new kind of denim and then use the blocks to cut the jackets out of the new fabric manipulated denim and eventually launch into leather. And quite frankly, the leather's going to be a tiny, I don't want to jinx myself, but it is going to be a tiny bit easier for me because I've worked leather for someone else and I learned a lot. I have not worked with denim on a professional level before. So I want to attend trade shows. I want to take some classes. I want to attend some workshops and really get in there. And I loved going to Japan and learning shibori, and I want to see if I can kind of incorporate some effects into my work. I have like so many shibori books. Where are they all? So yeah, I could, and with the evening wear, I have this idea for the product development, like the kinds of shapes that I want to create for women, because there are a lot of things that, like, how many of y'all like to watch Say Yes to the Dress? I enjoy it. You know why? Because of pretty dresses. And I love the moment when the girl at the end finds her dress, all right? Is it a perfect show? Are there some problematic things? Yeah, I got it. But like, I love the moment where the girl finds her dress and she starts crying and she feels really beautiful, you know, especially the ones who come in not thinking that they're going to find something that makes them feel beautiful, and then they do, and it's like, so like, yes, you found your dress, I love it, you know? I love that for them. And so I love watching Say Yes to the Dress, but if you really pay attention, there are only about 6 main bodies and everything is decoration. We have a mermaid. We have an A-line, we have a trumpet, we have a ball gown, we have a straight sheath, all right? With or without train. On the top, we have, you know, jewel neck with sleeves, we have a sweetheart, we have a straight across strapless, you know what I mean? And it's all like mix and match and then embellishment or pleating on top, draping on top, different fabrications, okay? A lot of the bodies are the same. And so I could spend the time perfecting the bodies, perfecting my grade, you know, working on that fit. And then later on, it's just a matter of working out the decorations, picking the best laces, you know, that sort of thing. And I have the accountability police here. Like I'm using this channel for accountability. It's like, oh, I have to do something this week, so I could show my followers that I actually worked on something. This is the best accountability ever. Like if you ever felt like you were working alone on something, whether you're a freelancer or or entrepreneur, and you need some accountability, I say you just start sharing that stuff and just make people like, there's this thing where I just feel like people respond better to outer stimuli for that kind of thing, which is one of the biggest arguments I have for whether or not to go to school. Because some people, not everyone, some people, they find it extremely difficult to finish a project without the external motivation of a deadline given by someone else. Okay? And instead of just whiling away and procrastinating for 10 years, maybe just buckle down for a couple years and go to school, learn the stuff. Because regardless, you have to learn the stuff anyway. Whether or not you go to school, you have to learn things about fashion, about the industry, about clothes. Like, so maybe what it is, and you don't even have to go get a full degree, but you know, if you take a few classes, if you take a few sewing classes, you know, all that sort of thing, but there's that. Isn't the place of couture about the inspiration of what we could do with fashion? It's closer to art than wearable pieces. I mean, I feel like it should be, Victoria. I feel like it should be. And I think that's what it used to be. It used to be that they were the trendsetters. They were the beginning of the trend cycle, and they presented such wild and beautiful ideas. I used to call them the concept cars of fashion. Okay, have you ever seen a concept car? You know, all these regular brands that we see on the road, like Audi, Mercedes, you know, they'll come up with concept cars where this is where the future of automobile design is going. Look at these crazy gadgets we developed. And right now they're $500,000, but this is not for sale. This is a concept car. This is where we're going. And that to me is super fascinating. And I always thought of haute couture as the concept cars in fashion, where we're like, this is where we're going. Look at all these cool, like, you know, when Iris van Herpen was like 3D printing dresses, you know, like using technology to move fashion forward. Or someone was using an old craft in such a new and beautiful way and all these things. But now, that's what I was talking about with the gimmicks. It's like, are the gimmicks drawing your attention so that you can see the clothes? Like people could say that the 3D printed dresses were a gimmick because people are like, whoa, 3D printed dresses, that's crazy. But at the same time, it was a gimmick that worked because you're paying attention to the dresses. You're paying attention to the craftsmanship, how she made these, like how all that works. So you end up paying attention to the clothes. And that's a gimmick to me that's worth it, that works, that is positive and not, yeah, so, yeah. Sound is good for me. Yay, okay. Keep updating me because I gotta, like, it might be when things get recorded, the sound is kind of funky. Like, I really don't want to do that to people. So, yeah. So I might spend the time to develop, research, make the blocks happen, do the patterns. I kind of want to do my own pattern making because I really enjoy it. I do everything by hand. Listen, you know, sample houses, they got a digitizer. They could take my paper patterns and digitize them. So yeah, maybe I do that. Maybe I do that. Do you remember when I spoke about Dries Van Noten? When I said my evening wear was 40 plus, and I had said that I love Dries Van Noten's work, and I love that it's coded for 35 plus, or it seems to me that it is made for a slightly older, a little bit more mature, sophisticated, a little bit more wearable, kind of without it outright saying that it is. Remember when I said that? I think it was last week. So I was telling that to my friend that I was meeting for lunch yesterday, and she's like, actually, so she went to school in New York, and she was telling me that she had gone to, and she worked in the industry there for a long time before moving to LA, and she was telling me how she had gone to a talk that Dries Van Noten was giving, and he says, within each collection, I designed for a 28-year-old girl, a 48-year-old girl, a 68-year-old girl. And I was like, I knew it. He is really thinking about the age gamut. Notice he didn't say 18-year-old girl because, to be fair, I don't even know how to dress an 18-year-old girl. Like, well, what am I designing for them? Like, I have girlfriends who work in juniors, and I'm like, what are 18-year-olds wearing? I just don't pay that close attention to what 18-year-olds are wearing. That like late teens, early 20s. Like, I don't pay attention. There are only so many things in fashion one person can pay attention to at a time. And it's just not, even when I was that age, I wasn't super interested in like in club gear or like, I think I was just kind of born an old person because I always like looking at, kind of like older clothes. But yeah. So, and then I'm still on the aprons. Listen, I have a few rolls of leather left over from my old brand because I'm a fabric hoarder. And I also have some yardage of denim. And I do not really remember why I have all this denim yardage. But, raise your hand if you're a fabric hoarder. And sometimes you just go to a fabric store and you see a fabric and you're like, you're coming home with me. Like, is that like that TikTok meme? You're coming home with me. I love traveling and finding a cool fabric store. Like when you go to Tokyo, they have a whole street. I think it's called Nippori Textile Town. And it's a whole street full of fabric stores. And I may or may not have bought a lot of things there. Hey, Rachel, you're late. I'm going to mark it in the grade book that you are tardy today by 34 whole minutes. All right. But yeah, and then I remember on one of the times, I've been to London several times, and one time I went, I was like, I think I'm going to have time to go fabric shopping. Where should I go? And somebody mentioned this street, kind of like right in the middle of London. And I went and I bought this fabric, and it is beautiful. And it's this like indigo and off-white ikat. And I still have it. It's just chilling. Maybe I turned that into pockets for my aprons. But yeah, my friend was like really into the idea of having like a durable apron that wouldn't stab you with all the sharp things you put in it. And someone in my comments had said something like, why don't you just sell a bunch of aprons to fund your evening wear? I don't actually think that I'll sell so many aprons that I could fund an entire different company, but I might just start making some aprons because how much pattern making is involved in aprons? Like, it's a flat square with straps, or it's a long rectangle. It's an oblong flat shape. You don't really put darts or anything into an apron, but I want to, try out some fabric manipulations on the surface. I want to use like really sturdy, like duck, like 16-ounce denim. I have a bunch of leather hanging out. I want to do like scissor pockets in leather, really durable. Do you remember the name of the London textile street? I really don't. I feel like it started with a B, but it was so long ago. It was a long time ago. maybe 2018, which is a long time ago. Hola, SoCal Otis, past life. Wait, and Yelka, is that you? So yeah, I went to Otis for fashion school, Otis College of Art and Design here in LA, and yeah, not Portobello. Mm, I'm pretty sure it's like maybe it started with a BER. It wasn't Portobello. I feel like Portobello Market is more like secondhand, thrift, uh, chicken dinner. Hey girl, what's up? Are you still teaching? On the main channel. I'm teaching on the main channel. I'm not teaching at a school right now. I mean, if Otis wants to call me and be like, hey, you want to teach illustration for a semester or two, I would do it. Like in their fashion department or like a model drawing class. Not like one of the foundation life drawing classes because I do not have the attention span for a 6 hour single pose. Do you remember those classes freshman year? Like I don't think I ever had the attention span for those, but I could never teach a 6 hour single pose. Like what are we even drawing after 6 hours a single pose? Like like individual hair follicles and crap? Like no. Okay, no. Getting ready for a little interview, so jumping off in 15 minutes. So good to see you. Oh, good luck on your interview. I've been seeing your LinkedIn post. Holy cow, yes, full of Saturday. I know. It's like it's a pose. It's like a pose. And then sometimes Mr. Fogg would tell me things like, I think your knees are a little too articulated. And I'm like, I think it's because I had to kill an extra 90 minutes. And so I just kept redrawing stuff. I just kept drawing over things because I have nothing more to draw. And, you know, I wasn't going to be like detailing his penis. Like that was, yeah, when I was that young, I was very not, and I was not alone, okay? Like most of the life drawing classes, if we had a man, like everything would be super articulated. We'd have like hair on the knuckles, all the wrinkles, fingernails, teeth, like the whole like whirl of the year. And then the crotches would be just like this haze of charcoal. That used to crack me up. You'd see the, you know, people would hang like the best drawings on the wall. And you'd see these incredible, beautiful charcoal, color pencil, all these beautiful drawings, life drawings, perfectly detailed. They would even draw in a chair, whatever they were sitting on, and then like a haze of crotch. After 6 hours, I'm writing help me notes on paper airplanes. I mean, yeah, we used to have 6 hour classes. Our color design classes were also 6 hours, but you're like working on multiple projects then. So, yeah. Can someone please design for us? Shorty's 5-footers matter. Yeah. Who's working on that petite line for Anyalka? Come on now. Like, there are a lot of short people out there. That is an untapped market. And I know that sometimes petites don't get a lot of love because they're like, well, if the pants are too long, you just cut them. But I'm tall. What am I going to do? Sew on more fabric? That's a whole, like, I have clients who are working on, like, tall, clothes for tall people. But when you do petites, like, all the proportions are different. It's not just a matter of making the legs shorter or the sleeves shorter. It's like you have to change all the proportions of the torso so that the breasts sit higher, the waist is like closer, like everything is not like an accordion, but scrunched closer together. The same difference between bust and waist and hip does not apply to petites. And so, I mean, the national average in the US for women is 5'5", and then petites are typically for women who are 5'4" and shorter. So we're still talking about 50% of the US is women Obviously, that number is going to change country to country. If you go to Asia, that number is even lower. So, I mean, come on, you want to make some money and you don't want to necessarily like change your design aesthetic to, you know, you want to keep your design aesthetic, just make them for petites. Like there are short women who want all different styles of clothes. So it's like, wait, I can design the way I want, but address a market so that I have like a marketing like angle to pitch from. Boom, there you go. There you go. Yes, 5-footer here too. So much fun though, hand-drawn censorship. Listen, speaking of hands, okay, you know how everybody's talking about how AI can't do hands, AI can't do hands? It's because of us uploading all of our student work, okay? We have ruined AI training for hands. This is not a pro AI channel. This is not a pro AI anything, okay? But the reason why AI's, you know, hands all look fucked up is because like AI is all a distillation of all the artwork that exists that have been uploaded to the internet in the world. And that includes the terrible drawings of student artists that are still developing their skills. And hands are literally some of the hardest things to draw on a human. Like I would say the vast majority of people who have tried to draw people would say that hands were the most difficult thing. And so when you take a bunch of decent drawings on average, but pair them with just really terrible hands, you end up with like 6 fingers and the wrong knuckles and like really disproportioned and some hands that look like they have no bones. Like, you know, when I teach drawing, like give me $1 for every time I said fingers do not curve, they bend, okay? Because we got bones in there and they bend, they do not curve. I could retire off of that money if I had $1 for every time I said that. So realistically, I'm years away from a fashion business, but it's 100% gonna be for petites of all shapes and sizes. As a fellow shorty, having clothes that fit is rare. See, Anyalka, like you heard it here first. My crew is ready to like do the petites. What do you think of Kibbe for designating body types, if anything? I do not know anything about the Kibbe body type thing because I have actively avoided it. I mean, I guess I should educate myself on it so that, I mean, I guess. But it's just, there's just so much crap out there that likes to categorize women into just feeling shittier about their bodies. And I'm just so over it. I'm available, and Yucca's available for any fit model needs. Yeah. And like there's so much. Victoria, are you talking about Kibbe being confusing to you? Okay, maybe I'll look it up just so I can like figure out what it is and explain it to y'all and whether it's good or not. But like social media is so full of trying to dictate to women what they should wear for all stupid reasons. Please tell me what system you use for body typing. I don't body type. I don't body, like, I mean, there's very generic body typing, like petites just means shorter. I mean, some people use it to mean skinny, but the industry term is petites just means for women 5'4" or shorter. That's it. And so that could be any body type. Talls, you know? So when you see labeling and you see 2P, it means it's a size 2 petites. If you see a 2T, it means it's a size 2 for talls. Like for men, they use long. Okay, when I did menswear, we did a lot of outerwear, and so we would have like a large, or we would have like a 40 long, which meant 2 inches in the body and 2 inches on the sleeve, plus, you know, adding that length. this word flattering is a word I really hate to use. It's a weird word, and it usually just means skinnier. Like when people say, oh, that's more flattering, they're usually saying you look skinnier in that than the other. And that's usually like the code word. Like, I want something that's more flattering. It's like, I want to look skinnier. Listen, there's nothing wrong with wanting to look skinnier, but it's like, like I get it, but also like, can we get rid of that? Because skinnier does not mean better. I think that's the problem I have with the word flattering is it's a code word to mean skinnier, and that doesn't always mean better. Like, and this whole like only skinny people can look good, only skinny people can be beautiful, only skinny people can look good in certain kinds of clothes is a weird one. And, you know, I am generally top heavy. I don't wear a lot of dresses, and I have zero fitted dresses because, you know, it would be very floppy around my hips and thighs if it fit me on top. I tend to go for separates, and then I'll usually buy a larger size on top than the bottom. So you can know these things about yourself without fixating on this skinny. The skinnier equals more flattering. Skinnier equals more beautiful. Like, we can just get rid of that concept and just embrace that there are beautiful shapes and sizes all across the board. You can say things like, you look great in that, without it being flattering. There's a lot of toxic terminology, and even if it's not problematic, just a lot of stupid styling advice out there. Oh my God. Okay. Oh, this one made my blood pressure rise so bad. I was talking to a stylist friend, and I was seeing for a while, there was this trend on TikTok where people were talking about high contrast dressing and low contrast dressing. And they were talking about how, sorry, my phone is being stupid. So they're talking about low contrast and high contrast dressing. So they're saying that if you have high contrast skin tone hair color, like me, I'm pale and I have dark hair, so I'm high contrast. And so they were showing some women like who are a little bit tan and have blonde hair as low contrast. Like Beyonce, she has like a very caramelly skin tone, and then she has like a dark blonde hair, so it's like low contrast, right? Blake Lively, she's very tan, blonde hair, low contrast. And Penelope Cruz, also pale with dark hair. Anne Hathaway, also pale, dark hair, high contrast. And then there's medium contrast for like more like pale redheads and women with like maybe lighter brown hair, like that, right? And they're saying that high contrast people like me should dress in high contrast outfits, and how we look best in a high contrast like a white shirt and black pants, whereas somebody with a low contrast like Blake Lively looks better in a monochromatic outfit. And I'm like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. So are you telling me that all these countries of East Asians who are naturally light skin tone and dark hair, Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, you know, are you saying that they all cannot wear a monochromatic outfit or a single evening gown in one color, or it doesn't look good? That is literally the stupidest thing I've ever heard, okay? All these women in South Asia who have like a kind of a medium brown skin tone and dark hair that's medium contrast, they can only wear medium contrast clothes like a gray shirt with blue jeans. Like, literally the stupidest style advice I've ever heard. And people come up with these stupid fucking systems just to like prey on women's insecurities and come up with more systems and more ways for women to spend their money on a bunch of useless garbage. And so when social media tells me that there's this cool new system to figure out what you should wear, I'm like, I am curious to look up the Kibbe thing, but the little brief mentions I've seen, it's not that interesting. It's like, first of all, why don't you just, first of all, just wear what makes you happy? Do you think this big floppy black t-shirt with fried eggs on it is particularly flattering? I don't care. That was not what I thought of when I first bought this t-shirt. I thought the fried eggs were delightful. You all know I have a thing for chickens. And so I thought this was funny and I bought it and I love it. And it's probably my most frequently worn t-shirt. The only time I don't wear it is when I think, oh, maybe I shouldn't wear it too much because what if it wears out? That's literally it. Like, okay, first of all, wear what makes you happy. You know, when people say like confidence is everything, I'm with them on that. Like if you are wearing something that makes you happy, whether it's a color, it's a shape, it's a, you know, it's a specific kind of fabric, whatever it is, if it makes you happy, that happiness is going to show. It doesn't matter if you're wearing what is traditionally considered the most flattering thing if you are uncomfortable and pulling at your clothes all day. You're just not going to look good, period. Period. So let's start there. Let's freaking start there. I mean, I have less angry feelings about the whole season thing. I do think that a lot of people have colors that look better on their skin tone. And that is just me and my color theory nerd geekery coming through. Like, I do believe that I look best in reds, bright greens, kind of olives too, navy, you know. I don't think I look very good in pastels. And so, except lavender. My husband thinks I look amazing in lavender, which was a surprise. But yeah, so on a color theory level, I do think that people look good and, you know, better, like their skin kind of perks up, color combinations look nice with your hair and everything. But it's not like this hard and fast rule. Like the thing that's going to shine the most is if you feel comfortable in your outfit, you feel good, you're walking down the street feeling good. Like that's going to make or break the outfit. It is what it is. But that whole monochromatic, low contrast, high contrast, it was seriously the dumbest shit I ever heard. I lost my mind. I was texting with my stylist girlfriend. I'm like, have you seen this shit? She's like, don't show that to me. I just get so mad. I'm like, oh, I'm seeing. All right, I missed some comments here. Let's see. Did you ever work on bathing suits? Is that even a thing? I worked on bathing suits in school. My junior year, we did a program with, we did a mentorship with Roxy Quicksilver, and I did a bathing suit. And it was fine. It wasn't the most fun thing for me, so I never pursued it after school. It's just kind of, if I got a job, like back in my design assistant days, if I got a job doing swimwear, I would not have been upset about it. Like it's not like a, ugh, you know, but it just never excited me too much. Rachel lives in South America, so I think the commute would be a little excessive. Just a little, just a little. So true behind the messaging, behind the term flattering. Flattering is a dirty word. It's a true F word, okay? It is so odd to wonder why people run with that. Oh crap, this is getting juicy and I gotta jet. Bye, girl. That was so fun. And Yelka and I went to Otis together, but we had a bunch of classes freshman year together, and then we kind of didn't hang out much after that because she went into communication design and I went into fashion, and so we didn't have any studio classes together. But yeah, I mean, we're still connected on like LinkedIn and stuff like that. Fashion is supposed to be about self-expression and functionality. Word. Yeah, that self-expression part is, and I've mentioned this before, but it is like very like, I'm trying not to use the word tribe, but it really, fashion and the way you express yourself helps you find your people. You know, people see other people in a certain kind of outfit and they're like, yeah, like I feel that person. You know, they seem like a person I would want to get to know. They look like a person that listens to my kind of music or has a lifestyle that I also partake in. And all of that is expressed through fashion. And it is how you find your people, your community, you know, and how you show up for the world and how you feel about the world. You know, if you're always slovenly versus if you're always put together. And yeah, there are some like things like dress codes for certain occasions. If you're going to an event, they tell you it's black tie, you know, stuff you have to wear for work. All that aside, it is self-expression, even within those parameters. But like, really, it's literally you do you, please, you know? I think the usefulness of color theory for clothes ends when it makes people feel bad for liking colors they aren't supposed to like. Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, someone might come along and just be like, actually, Zoe, you don't look good in chartreuse. I would be like, I like literally do not care. Because it is my fun color and I'll wear it till the day I die. And you know, that's the thing is, I could sit here and I have a whole color theory class, deep diving color combinations on my Patreon. You can access it in the archives, in the meetups and archives tier, and watch all those videos where I explain what the academic color combinations are for triadic color schemes, split complement, all these things, and how you get different color stories. But at the end of the day, like, a lot of it is just opinion. You know, I would paint all these different color combinations, and the students would leave me comments like, oh, I really like this color combination that you did. Because a lot of it just is personal preference. And again, that goes back to the self-expression and using fashion as self-expression. So all of that. Why did you wait for so long before creating your brand? I had a brand back in 2008, and I did not enjoy running the business of it. And in 2011, somebody asked me to teach a design class at the university there. And when I started teaching, it just really clicked. I fell in love with teaching in a way that was extremely surprising to me. And the more I taught, the less I wanted to run my business. And so I folded shop, switched to teaching. So that was, my first official semester was 2012, spring semester 2012. And then in 2015, I started the YouTube channel and was doing both. Like I was teaching at the university, teaching online. I quit the university, was doing YouTube full time. The pandemic happened. I set up my Patreon to kind of fill that online gap for classes. And I've just been really enjoying the teaching experience, but I've been on YouTube for 10 years and I'm kind of like, my options were really, I could retire because I could. Like, I do not spend money, y'all. I do not spend money. I do not. I just don't. I do not spend money. And I've had the same car since 2013 and I bought that used. Okay? I do not spend money. And so I could retire technically and have some like kind of almost passive income sources and just kind of ride on that. I contemplated a year sabbatical because after my husband's accident and just helping him through all that, and listen, I'm not saying that I had it worse. Like, of course my husband had it worse. He was the one in pain all the time and like working through all this physical therapy, but it was exhausting for me also being a full-time caretaker. And so I wanted to take a year sabbatical and buy a private island in Scotland and just squirrel away from the world for a while. But then I was like, all right, maybe I'll get bored. Listen, this brand is my midlife crisis. And I'm going to do it slowly. I'm going to really just roll around in my creativity in ways I never have before. Because every other design thing I've done has always been for someone else. Like when I was working as a designer in the industry, I was, of course, making things for other people. And then when I had my own brand, I was so focused on fitting into the market I was trying to penetrate that I think I kind of lost my way in a lot of ways. And then when I was teaching, I was doing a lot of designing for all these demos, both on YouTube and in person. I was doing a lot of these like outfits off the cuff and design projects and demos. But I never really was fully designing because it was always about how to make the most clear lesson. Like the best example I can give is if you have on the main channel watched my video where I break down how design changes per price bracket, and I designed a blouse and a trench coat, and I designed one for like fast fashion juniors, I designed one for the couture level, I designed one for like contemporary market, like all these different markets and how they would change up the design depending on fabric usage, how many design elements that they could pay for, like all these things. And so that wasn't me designing, that was me showing like a contemporary market would be more trendy, would be a little bit more brave. If you did like a bridge market or like a Missy market, that market is more conservative. So maybe I wouldn't do a cutout shoulder, and maybe I wouldn't do quite so many ruffles, and I wouldn't do any like, you know, these things. And then if I were doing something fast fashion, something really, really cheap, I would minimize the ruffles so they weren't like full, beautiful, lush ruffles, but like much skimpier. And I would only use lace in the front because that's the most prominent design space. And then use just like a cheap solid fabric in the back. So like all of these things were designed to maximize the lesson that I was trying to teach. And so it's never been about me exploring my creativity. And I feel that way about illustration also because, I mean, I've done some freelance illustration kind of on my own, but for the most part, my illustration has been very academic, very straightforward, very clear, trying to teach the exact rendering techniques, teach the exact figure proportions. So I never got to explore a particularly expressive style. And so I am going to take my time to explore that. And that's probably why I can't decide between my denim thing and my evening wear thing, because I haven't really explored the design potential of either without thinking about who's watching me, who's learning what lesson from this design project, like all these things. So yeah. Once I'm ready, I plan on taking full advantage of them. Go do that. Yes, go. I have fashion design process, drawing clothes on bodies, figure drawing, color theory for fashion, and how to draw flats in my Patreon archives. So go join in the meetups and archives tier. So, do you agree that older women are judged very harshly? I often hear that's not age appropriate, or she looks like a mutton dressed up as a lamb, or are there rules for certain age groups? She looks like a mutton dressed up as a lamb. If someone said that to me, I'd smack them. Yeah, age appropriate. I've used it before just to express a certain point or attitude, but yeah, that is one of the things I love about like older women and how they dress is the older they get, the fucks they run out of about other people's opinions, and they just start wearing. My favorite social media account is Advanced Style. They're on TikTok. I'm sure they're on Instagram, but I follow them on TikTok, and it's so fun. It's just like 80-year-old women wearing outlandish outfits, throwing up their middle fingers at anybody who critiques them on how they dress because it's not age appropriate. Like, just wear whatever. Yeah. And there's just so much dumb shit for women. There really is, because you don't really say that to men. Mostly because their clothes are very similar regardless of how old they get. But you don't go up to a man and say, that's not really great for your age, is it? Like, you don't say that to men. But with women, you're like, they say things like, oh, you reach a certain age and your hair can't be long. My hair is going to be this length till the day I die, if not longer. Like, I'm letting my grays grow out. You can't really see on camera, but I'm letting my grays grow out, and I don't care. And there was this whole thing on social media. And listen, don't listen to social media about 90% of the time, okay? Where they were like, oh, side parts mean you're old, or middle parts mean you're old. Listen, wear the part in your hair that makes you happy. Your head generally has a place where it wants to part. This is just, I barely brushed my hair this morning. This is just where my hair wants to part. Okay? Get over it. Like millennials need to stop wearing ankle socks. I mean, I'm not a millennial, but who cares? Like, it's ankle socks. Like, it's socks. Get a grip. Get a grip. I also have 6 projects going on, so I want you to do both ideas. I understand. Oh man, I have to get going. I have to take my husband to the doctor. Thank you for these channels and resources. You're welcome. I work for a lady, not elderly, but middle-aged, who would run around town in a $300 shirt and leggings with holes in the crotch. Okay, listen, nobody wants to see that. All right, if the big shirt covered the crotch, I don't care. But like, I don't really want to see anybody's underwear. That's not an age thing. That's not a body shaming thing. That's not nothing except I don't want to see your underwear. And that means whether your underwear is sticking up at the top or you have a hole in your butt. Like, I just don't want to see other people's underwear. There's like, unless that's part of the look, okay? Like, you deliberately have a whole thing going on and your underwear is purposely styled. But still, I don't want to see your underwear. And that has nothing to do with anything other than please cover your underwear with your clothes, okay? Are you going to be doing a Watch Me Design series for the new brand? I think this whole channel is basically a Watch Me Design for the whole brand. Before I had to take my husband to the ER, I was actually going to go into my storage unit and pull out that design project I mentioned in the last live, where I had done a project with my Patreon students and I liked it so much that I might just bust out with it and actually make it. So I love fashion but never studied it. For my new collection of modest fashion brand, I'm working with legit designers. Based on your experience, what should I expect and any tips for a great collab? Okay, that is way more than I have the time for on a live. If you want to book a consultation session with me, we could talk about it because that's more of a business thing. But I do have to go. I have to take my husband to his doctor's appointment. Thank you so much for joining me on today's live. Please thumbs up this video, share, subscribe, all the good things, and I will see you next week. Bye.